Hello and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here, and I have an exciting thing that I want to talk about today. And I hope you're as excited about it as I am, because the one thing that I know we get a lot of in this world is negative. Everywhere we look, there's this negative. Everything is about the negative, about the lack of money, the poverty, the woes of the world. I was listening to someone just today, and she was talking about how she hated tipping and she was so sick of tipping, and it was just this place of, we always want to find the negative in everything that we do. And I want to talk today about something different, because there is something that we can do that changes our lives completely. But it is something that not a lot of people understand or even know about, because they don't get it. They haven't been taught these kind of things. They haven't been taught how to think differently and do things differently, so that we're not always in a constant state of being in a negative place. So, the one thing that I know for sure is our minds are designed to keep us small. Our minds are designed, the way that they are set up, the way that society has set us up, is that we think constantly about the negative, about everything that can go wrong. We think negatively about ourselves, about others. We want to judge others. And this is kind of the human design. We could get into all sciencey about this, but we're not going to do that, because that's not how I roll, and it doesn't really matter. The thing is that if you look around, probably in your circles and in the people that are in your lives, and it's probably mostly negative. We have things happen to us and we're like, of course, that's what would happen. That was, of course, this is what would happen. We have these thought processes, these things that we say, these beliefs that we have, and most of them are probably negative, because this is what we have been taught to do. This is how most of us have been raised. We don't understand that there's a whole other side to this. And to me, if we truly want to be happy, we have to get out of this. We have to let this go. And I've been working on this for a long time. I know a lot of people, they say, no way. When I tell them I was raised in this negative way, I was raised very negatively. I didn't see it as a problem. I just thought it was the way that it was. And I remember one day, one of my kids telling me, Mom, you're the most negative person I've ever met. And I, of course, took offense to it then. I was like, I am not. What are you saying? There was this part of me that didn't want to believe that. My ego didn't want to believe that. But now I know, I understand that was true. I saw everything negatively. If anything happened, of course, that's what would happen to me. And I have worked to change that, very much so, because I understand now that if I truly want to be happy, I have to control what goes on in my head. I cannot let the asshole in my head win if I truly want to be happy. Now, most people look at this and they're like, well, how do you do that? Your mind just does its thing. Your mind is not in control. This is just it. This is the misconception. People think because they think it is true. And that is the biggest misconception in this life. The biggest lie we have been told, because our minds are computers and they are simply replaying, redoing everything that we have taught it. Computers aren't really that smart. People program them to do what they do. Our minds are not really that smart. That's been programmed to do what it does. And when you understand that, it changes your life. You must take your control back. And if you truly want to live a happy life, you must stop listening to what is going on into your head right now and just allowing it to run off the rails, because that's what's happening. And I'll share with you a story, because I actually have a couple of really good stories where this just happened with me. But we allow it to run off the rails and just go off on a tangent. It's like just, letting a 2-year-old run rapid with no bumpers in place. We have to learn to take our control back. So I think it's interesting. I'll share a story. It's not anything really Negative. I've had a couple of, well, I guess it kind of is, but I've had a couple of things. It really kind of talks about how the mind works. So I've had a couple of things here recently that have happened that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing. So I woke up in the middle of the night, not last night, but the night before, a couple nights ago, and my mind went off, was already going off. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. And my mind was already like, oh my gosh, we missed that party. We missed that thing. Oh my heck, we were supposed to go to that thing. I can't believe we didn't go to that thing. This is at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I woke up in this. So we were invited to go to a graduation party. We had had company all weekend. I kind of felt out of sorts. Like things were, I was kind of off my normal schedule, entertaining and having people there. And I woke up in this panic of like, oh my gosh, we didn't do that. And then I heard my mind say, oh my gosh, these people are going to be so mad at me. They're going to be so, because we didn't even call. We didn't even see anything. This whole thing is going off in my head. I can't believe you forgot that. Wait a minute. And then I had to stop. What day is it? I don't even know what day it is. What is the date? Well, then I started bringing in some, calming this mind down, shutting it up for a minute. What date is? Oh my gosh, that's not even until next week, Gina. Why are you freaking out? And this person said that they would call and let you know on the time. That hasn't happened. I even picked up my phone. I found myself picking up my phone to look at my calendar and realizing this is ridiculous, Gina. It is 4 o'clock in the morning and there is no fire. There is no fire. But this is how our minds work. I was already worried. I already jumped to the conclusion of, oh my gosh, these people are going to be so mad at me. We were supposed to go to that graduation party. Our daughter's graduating, blah, blah, blah. We missed it. And I went from dead asleep to total freaking out mode. And then back to, I'm going back to sleep. Everything is fine because we have to calm our mind down. And I did. I sat there and I said, no, Gina, this isn't true. This is not what's happening. This is not even part of the deal. We'll figure it out in the morning when we wake up. We'll figure out the time. We'll do all the things. It's like talking to a toddler, it's like we'll take care of it all and everything's going to be fine. And we're going to go back to sleep because it's 4 o'clock in the morning. So isn't it interesting how, I'm sharing, this is kind of something we can all relate to, right? Have you ever woke up in the middle of the night panicked that you forgot something or didn't do something, or, our minds are these little programmable computers that are just going off all the time. And if we allow them to take over, I could allowed myself to go to this worry place. Oh my gosh, I better text them. I better call them. I got to get up and check my calendar. We got to figure this all out. We got to figure this out right now. 4 o'clock in the morning. We got to figure it out. But I didn't. What I did, because I understand how this works, was we calm ourselves down. There is no fire, and we'll take care of this later. You see the difference in how this works. We must learn to train our mind to think differently. Now, I've had other instances, I'm sure you have too, where, we're worried about something or we're in a low place and we allow ourselves to go down that road for a long period of time. Now, this is the way this is normal for most of you. This is how it works. We think that it is normal, but guess what? It doesn't have to be. Because if you truly want to live a happy life, you must, one, learn to see the signs, learn to see that your mind is not your truth. And that when you are allowing yourself to think those things, it's because you're allowing yourself to think those things. You can blame it on whoever you want. You can blame your parents for being so negative. You can blame the world because this is what you consume. But when you consume these things, living in this world and not understanding this has gotten you where you are today. But because you're listening to me, you are ready to understand something different. I know in my healing work, I was just thinking about this today. I'm like, you know what? I want to bring this healing work to more of the positive side, bringing more positive. We talk a lot about all the negative emotions and the negative feelings and the negative thoughts and changing our thought patterns and doing all those things. Let's shift out of all of that and shift into the positive. Because this is how we truly live a happy, healthy, amazing, beautiful life, is when we realize, you know what? I am going to start shifting this. And it's like being on a teeter-totter, or we're going to start balancing it out more. We're going to have less of the negative and more of the positive. We're going to start bringing in, because it's not that you're going to be perfect at this. Nothing, there's not about perfection, but we're going to start catching ourselves. Oh my gosh, did I really just say that to myself? Did I really just say, oh my gosh, I just heard in my head, you're so dumb and stupid, blah, 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 whatever it is that's going on. No, that is not my truth. My truth is I'm very smart, I'm very capable, and I can do amazing things in my life. And we start catching these going off the rail opportunities and not allowing ourselves to go off the rails anymore, because you have to take back your control. And by doing this, I promise you, at first it will seem like a chore. At first, you will feel like you are chasing a toddler and this toddler is very active and never takes a nap. That's what it's going to feel like at first. But the more that you do it, the more that you talk to yourself, the more that you offer yourself that safe place to be, the more that you give yourself that, no, that is not true. And I'm not just going to let my mind do that. This is my truth. This is my new truth. And the more that we go into changing these patterns, the easier it becomes. That toddler grows into something, an adult who's very a very amazing adult. And we have to really, I've heard it say reparent ourselves. This is kind of what we're doing. We have to learn new ways of doing things. If you truly want to live a happy life, this is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your family, literally. And I've spent a long time being here. It took me a while to figure out how to get to that place where I could think more positive as a natural thing, not having to force it all the time. Now, there's still been periods of time in my life when I'm going through hard things and I feel like I'm going back to square one and having to reparent myself all over again. That's okay. This is to me an ongoing thing. But I know that when I am in the living, striving, we'll say, to live the best version of myself, not even striving, when I am in that identity of living the best version of myself, that is when I'm the happiest. That is when I am the healthiest. That is when I am in my power in a good way, not in power of everyone else, in my own power on the inside, because this is very different thing that we're talking about. But when I am in that space, this is when things are going well for me. This is when life feels really good. This is when life feels easy. This is when life feels easy. It's not because everything going on the outside is perfect. It's because me on the inside is at peace with myself. Me on the inside knows that everything is happening for me in my favor, and that all good things are coming to me. And I'm not allowing myself to beat myself up, live in this negative space of nothing ever happens good for me. And, you think about the depression in the world. When we have thoughts like that going on in our head, you cannot be happy on the outside. Your body reflects that. We get in these states of deep depression. Our bodies are reflecting that to you. It's telling you this is where we're at. Do you want to change it? Do you want to do something different? Or is this where you're going to allow yourself to stay? We take that power away from ourselves instead of realizing, oh my gosh, you know what? I need to put myself back on the rails. I need to bring myself back. I live a happy, amazing life, and I'm going to keep telling myself that until I believe it. Because this is the problem, is most of us don't believe it. We don't believe that it is possible for us because we're still looking back at everything that has happened to us. And we as humans have an amazing way of remembering all of the negative and forgetting any of the positive. We like to stay in this negative place. It's easier for us to stay in that negative place. The truth is, though, it takes just as much energy to stay there as it does to become that positive version of yourself, as it does to stay in that positive vibration for yourself. That's the part that people think, because, well, this is what I know, so it's easier to stay there. No, it's exhausting to be there. This is where sickness resides. This is where all of our woes of life come in, and things aren't happening well for us. And it takes more energy to really fix that, or to stay in that place, instead of realizing, oh my gosh, I can take the same amount of energy and put it over here and live a happier, healthier, amazing, more abundant life. Two very different ways of thinking. So how do we do it? To me, this isn't about perfection. I tell my healing clients this all the time. I'm like, just like I said earlier, this is about tipping the scales. So we have to become aware of what our thought patterns are. what are your thought patterns? Are you 80% negative, 90% negative, 100% negative? Are you the one that will constantly go to, oh my gosh, this is terrible? We had a situation just a couple of weeks ago. And it actually it caught me off guard for a minute because I was like, wow, where did that come from? It seemed like it kind of come out of the blue, but we were traveling, and we were in a different city from where I live. We had just left for lunch. It was where we had just finished up lunch and we're leaving. We were headed to Salt Lake City, actually. So I live quite a ways I'm about 3.5 hours away from Salt Lake City, Utah. So we were traveling that day. We had stopped for lunch, ate our lunch. It was pouring rain. Um, we got ready. We were pulling out of the parking lot and we got rear-ended. Okay. And at first I was like, it scared me because we were looking, there was a lot of traffic. It was raining. We were paying attention to this out here in front of us. My husband was driving, and all of a sudden from behind, we felt that. And I kind of sat there for a minute. I was like, what the heck just happened? And then I realized we had been rear-ended. My husband knew immediately. I was grateful. My husband had his foot on the brake. Thank God. See, here again, it was amazing. It worked out. Anyway, so we weren't hurt. Nobody was hurt. Our car got hurt. Okay. So anyway, we both get out in the pouring rain, and the other person from the other vehicle that hit us started yelling at us. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. This wasn't our deal. This was your deal. And the only reason um, our humanness, his first reaction was to blame someone else. Okay. Even though he was completely in the wrong. In this case, there was no question. We were stopped, not in park, but we were stopped, foot on the brake at the intersection, waiting to go. There was a ton of traffic. This is a very busy city. It's a smaller city and it has grown a bunch, and there is a lot of traffic there. And so we were stopped, but his immediate reaction was to yell at us and blame us. In fact, he said, I thought you were going. I said, what part of foot on the brake said we were going, kind of thing. It was like, anyway. And so I even told him, why are you yelling at me? This is your deal. This isn't ours. This isn't about us. This is about you. You messed up. Like, seriously. Anyway, we ended up exchanging. We pulled off to the side of the road, got out of the rain. I went and got out of the rain. We were headed to a wedding. I didn't want to, I'm a woman. I don't want to be out there with it raining my hair. It's like, come on. Anyway, so we got back in our cars, pulled around the corner. The car was still drivable, and exchanged information, got his insurance information, and just decided to go on about our day. To me, this was very cut and dry. This isn't a big deal. And we get back in the car, and both my husband and I said, you know what? That caught me off guard. It was kind of weird. It kind of seemed like it come out of the blue, but nobody's hurt. The car's drivable. We're still able to go do our thing. And so we just did. We just took off, went and finished off our day, drove home. Everything was fine. Everything worked out just fine. We were able to go do everything that we wanted to do, and we got home. And to me, the difference in this is I could have sat there and stewed about that all day, let my humanness, what was that guy thinking? I can't believe he just yelled at me, blah, 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 all the things that we say. Why is this happening to me? Why did this happen? What is going on? This stuff always happens to us. That's not true, because I've never even had an issue like this before. So that isn't even true. And this is what we have to do, is remind ourselves, even if our mind wants to say that, oh my gosh, all bad things happen to me. No, that isn't true, because you can view how you want to see this. I could choose to see this as a terrible negative thing and let it ruin my entire day, or I can pick up the pieces and move forward. And we picked up the pieces and moved forward. Literally, like, everybody was like, you didn't get a police report? No, it was pouring rain, cut and dry. We had the information that we needed. We were done. And I trusted that it was going to work out. And sure enough, it did. We came home. I didn't even worry about the rest of the day. I was like, take care of it tomorrow. I got things that I'm doing here. We're headed, and we'll take care of it tomorrow. So we drove home that night. And the next morning I called the insurance company. Do you know, within by Monday so that was a Monday. My car was in the shop in a week on the following Monday. My car was fixed by Friday. I had my car back by Friday and it was done. It was slightly inconvenient. And I say slightly because my husband and I have extra vehicles. It was one vehicle down. It didn't really matter. This car that we were in is one that we drive in because it gets good gas mileage. And so we usually take that one to Salt Lake or wherever we go. Still had two vehicles at home. It wasn't even that big a deal. But my mind could have allowed it to be a big deal. Oh my gosh, this is terrible, because what we think about it affects our lives. And if I would allowed myself to go down the path of this is terrible, this is ridiculous, how stupid is this? What an inconvenience. How terrible. What was that guy thinking? What an asshole. You can allow yourself to go there. My husband and I both commented on how easy the process was. And I believe it was easy because we had a good attitude about it. I didn't go into it thinking that it was going to be a pain in the ass. I went into it thinking this is going to be easy and I'll just take care of it. No big deal. It's done. And it was. I haven't got to pick my shop. I use the guy that I fucking love because I love him. My car is perfect. My car looks better than it did before. What do we have to lose? And it's really not that big a deal, right? When we appear or we choose to look at life this way, life appears different for us. And so we can choose to see life as terrible. We can choose to see life as the enemy and that it's coming at us and we have to defend ourselves at all costs. Or we can choose to see the beautifulness of life, choose to see the abundance, choose to see the beautifulness of life, even in the midst of things like this, because really, who cares? Is it really that big a deal? But what we tell ourselves about it can make that big a deal. And it can decide whether we're going to live a happy life or not. So we can allow these little things in life to come in and ruin it for us, or we can allow them to come in and just let it bounce. Life isn't about perfection. Life isn't about everything being perfect and roses all the time. And, I hear people say, well, when I'm doing my healing work, they have this expectation that everything is going to work out great. Well, it will, depending on how you think about it. It doesn't matter what goes down. It depends on how you think about it and how you approach it. And, if you're thinking that everything that happens to you is the most terrible thing on the face of the planet, believe me, I've had plenty of things that have happened that I'm just like, really? If we think they're the most terrible thing on the face of the planet, then guess what? They are. They will be. It absolutely will come true for you. Absolutely. Because what you think manifests into your reality. So if that's what you believe, that is exactly what will happen for you. But if you can choose to set back and take your power back in a good way, in an honoring way, in a loving, kind, productive way is the word I'm looking for, then this is where you can start to really learn and relearn to live your happiest version of your life. This is how we get where we want to go. This is how we do things differently. It starts with you taking responsibility for you, not for anybody else, not blaming anyone else, not being the kid in the car and getting out and yelling at someone else. Now, I know that that's just human. That's a normal reaction for humans, especially for men. We'll just start there. That's just a normal reaction. And I even said to him, hey, don't yell at me because this isn't about me. This is about you. And then he kind of looked at me and backtracked because he was like, oh, sheesh. Because I kind of put him in his place. This isn't about me. This is about you. So let's take care of it and move on. Let's be done with this. Okay. And so, that is just a normal human reaction. When we make it about us, that makes us unhappy people too. It wasn't about me. It had nothing to do with me. It was a situation. It was his reaction to a situation. So when we can choose to look at things differently, choose to stop reacting to everything, choose to see life as a very friendly, loving, kind place, and change the thought patterns inside of our head, this is where you are going to learn to live the most happiest, magical, lovely, amazing, beautiful life ever. Not because everything works perfectly, because you see everything as this beautiful experience. I like to see it kind of as the Wizard of Oz. Okay. And before in the beginning of the Wizard of Oz, the movie is black and white, right? Like it starts out in black and white. And then as they get into Glenda and the Good Witch of the North and all of the beautiful things, it is Good Witch of the North, right? I haven't seen the Wizard of Oz for a while, but this is what popped into my head. But and it becomes color. And this is how we can choose to see our life. We can choose to see our life in that vibrant, lovely, amazing color and choose to see our experiences, choose to see everything that happens from a day-to-day place through that lens. This is when you will learn to live a truly, truly, truly magical, beautiful, vibrantly colored life full of amazing experiences. You are here to live a fabulous life. You're here to live a happy life. And you get to choose that. You are the only one that can decide, you know what? I either need some help or I need to figure this out or I need to do something different because I've got to get out of my own way. Most of us are in our own way. We don't allow ourselves to be in this place of happiness and joy. I work with people every day who cannot even think for a minute of stepping into that place of happiness and joy. They do not know how because they've been into this negative space for so long. They don't even know how to do it. There's a lot of people that I don't work with that don't even realize that they are in this negative space. And they never will because they are not aware of that. Those are who people would want to call the Karens in life, or the guys, the Steves. I think the Steves, I don't know if that's the right name or not, but those are those kind of people that they just think that's just how it is. They just think that's how life should be. I was actually, there's a story that I like to share, and I won't share any names, but when I was growing up, we had a family friend, and she was one of the most negative people I have ever met in my life. She just always was bitching and moaning and complaining and talking about everybody else. And when I was younger, I really didn't understand it. I wasn't awake. I wasn't aware. I didn't understand all of that. But as I got older, I realized, geez, being around her just felt hard. It felt really hard. And she was constantly dragging people down and she wanted you to be on her level. And, she bitched and moaned and complained about her husband every time I was around her. And they later got divorced. No surprise. I'm surprised they stayed married, stayed together as long as they did. But she was one person she came into my life when I was pregnant, and my mom wasn't there for me. My mom wasn't there to help me. She wouldn't help me. She was embarrassed because I was pregnant. She didn't want to be part of it. She wouldn't even talk to me. She wouldn't even talk to me because I hurt her, was the feeling that I got from her. And so this lady came into my life. She went through that pregnancy with me. She helped me. I ended up having to quit my job or I had to go on maternity leave early. Actually, I had to be on bed rest. And it was a difficult pregnancy. And I was a single mom, no support from my mom. And this woman did come in and she helped me. And I always appreciated her for that. She was there for the delivery of my daughter. She was there for me in that time. She kind of helped me work through those things. She bought me some diapers, which nobody really did any of that for me. I was home on bed rest. And so she helped me do all of that. And I appreciated that from her. And I loved this side of her, but there was this other side of her that was just really hard to be around. And as my daughter grew, and we kind of grew apart because it was just hard to be around her. And now she has since passed away. And I tell her all the time, I appreciate so much her help for me during those times. And I also see this other side of her that was just really hard. She never understood that she couldn't blame the world for all of her problems, that, she had the opportunity for change. She had the opportunity for growth. She had that opportunity inside of her, but she chose to outsource that and think that it was someone else's problem. And it led to some issues in her life with her kids and other things that happened because of that. But to me, this was always a good reminder on how I didn't want to live. I knew that I wanted to be a different type of person showing up into the world. I knew that I wanted to do something different. And so because of that contrast in my life, though, I was able to go on and see, you know what, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to act like that. I don't want to be that kind of person in someone's life. And if I don't want to be that, then what do I want to be? And it really gave me that opportunity to look at, okay, well, I need to change this. I told you, my kids told me, Mom, you're the most negative person in the world. I was then. And I decided to do something about it. I decided to make a change in my own life. I decided to start thinking, acting, being differently. I decided to start doing my healing work so that I wasn't looking to the world, blaming the world, making everybody else the victim in my own story, and thinking that I wasn't making myself the victim, which I was. That's exactly what was going on, is I was allowing myself to be the victim, making myself the victim, but blaming everybody else for it. And it's their problem. When we see all of these things in our lives and we really start doing this work and realize, holy shit, I have to back up and have to take responsibility for all aspects of my life. Now, what happens to us as kids, we don't have to take responsibility for. But as we get into adulthood, the things that have become from that, we do have a responsibility to clean that up and to take responsibility for our lives. It's nobody's job to heal us. It is nobody's job to make the changes. We have to be the ones to step up to the plate and say, you know what, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something different. The change starts with me. And I have done that in my life. I continue to do that today. I continue to see my life as an ever evolving practice in my life of becoming the best version of myself, of being that, living that best version of myself. So many times we only see what our humanness is capable of. This humanness is a very small part of who we are. The world wants us to only see this humanness as what we are capable of. And that is not true. You're not in competition with anybody else. You're not here to compete with anybody else. You are here to see yourself in the highest version of yourself. This is where spirituality comes in, right? Like, you are that spiritual essence. You are, to me, people ask me, I had a lady ask me just this past weekend that comes to me, so do you still believe in God? I said, absolutely. Just because I am not religious does not mean I do not believe in a God. I look at this God very differently today and know that I am that energy, that I am in that essence, that is my essence too. Where in religious, it teaches us that we are separate from that and we have to find a way to become part of that. To me, spirituality teaches us differently, that we are that essence. It is not the finding it and hoping that you're good enough to be in it. You are that already. You are that essence. And I know that today. And I live that version of me. And I won't say every day because that's just simply not true. I just felt that because I'm still human here, having this humanness experience some days. But I strive to live in that essence every day. I live in the becoming. I live in the being, that version of me. Because when we do that, that is where our happiness rises. Now, some of you are like, how do you do that? I imagine myself. If I am that energy, if I am that essence, what does that mean for me? And how do I live in that? What is that identity for me? And it might be different for everybody. You may have a different version of that than I do. To me, I see that as being proud of myself, taking a big deep breath, trusting in the process, allowing my shoulders to, this is what I always see in myself, is instead of being all uptight all the time, I allow myself to be in this relaxed state, knowing that everything that is coming for me, everything that is happening for me is here for me. And it is the becoming of the best version of me. And I live in that essence every single day, knowing that I am worthy, that I am love. And I bring that in and help my clients also be that version, be their best version of themselves, living in that beautiful God essence that you are, that we all are. It is not, nobody's better than anybody else. We're not in competition with everybody else. We just are. We already are. We already are that essence. It's just us tapping into it and allowing that to be part of our lives. So that is the version that I strive for, to live for, to be in every single day. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely freaking not. Do I still strive for it every day? Yes. And I don't even like the word strive for, because that means I'm not there yet. I live in that in as many moments as I can be in it, and allow that to be who I am. Allow myself to accept, really, that that is the highest version of me, and allow myself to live my life from there, to receive from there, to create abundance from there, to create my business from there, to create my relationships from there, because it's a very different place than creating from the humanness. When we start creating from the spiritual essence that you are, that I am, that we all are, life looks very different for us. And this is the part that I bring to the world. This is the version that I bring to the world of allowing you to see that in yourself too, as well. Because when we let go of our humanness, so to speak, that we think is the only way to live because our mind wants us to think it's the only way of living, and allow ourselves to step into that essence, we do think more positively. We don't let things knock us down. We just allow life to flow for ourselves. And when we see things in our lives that we don't really like or necessarily want to be part of our lives, we understand that this is part of the process and that we're just becoming more and more and more of that in the physical every single day. And we allow those things to heal us, to bring us this greater version of ourselves. So I hope this has been helpful for you. This is something that I love. I love teaching this. I love honoring this in myself, and I love helping others to honor that in themselves. You know, inside of my VIP programs, this is what we talk about, is really stepping into that highest version of yourselves, really stepping into you. So if you want to learn more about that, you can click the link somewhere here, depending on what platform you're watching on, and really come and join us and allow this version of you to start emerging, because it's sitting there waiting for you. It's just waiting for you to decide that you're going to step into it too. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. So much love, and I'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this today, please like, please share, please subscribe and get notifications, and make sure that you become part of our email family. I talk about this kind of stuff all the time in my emails. I love sharing stories. I love writing in there. So come and join us inside of there, and I'll see you next time. So much love.